The faint chime of a notification pierced the quiet hum of our evening routine, drawing my eyes to her phone screen just as she snatched it away. A gesture too quick, too deliberate. In that split second, the words "can't wait for tonight" glowed briefly before vanishing, leaving a hollow ache in my chest that no amount of rationalizing could fill. It was one of those ordinary moments that suddenly felt laced with unspoken tension, the kind where the air thickens and the familiar sounds of home, the distant clatter of dishes, the soft laughter of children, turn into a backdrop for something far more sinister. What happened next shattered everything I thought I knew about love and loyalty. Almost 1 in 5 marriages faces infidelity, and I was about to become a statistic. Hello, I need to get this off my chest. My name's Alex, 42, a civil engineer specializing in urban infrastructure projects here in Chicago, where the wind never seems to let up, whipping through the skyscrapers and reminding me daily of life's relentless push. Married for 14 years to Elena, with our 2 kids, Mia, 10, who's all about soccer and dreams of playing pro, practicing her kicks in the backyard until the grass wears thin, and Lucas, 7, the budding artist whose sketches of fantastical creatures cover every fridge surface and spill onto the counters. I've always been the steady type, deeply attached to the life we've built, believing our bond was unbreakable despite the occasional rough patch like arguments over schedules or forgotten anniversaries. I'm the guy who plans family vacations meticulously, mapping out routes and booking hotels months in advance, all to create those perfect memories that I thought would hold us together forever. Elena, 40, is a project manager at a downtown consulting firm, sharp-minded and charismatic, the one who lights up rooms with her quick wit and infectious energy, keeping our social calendar buzzing with dinner parties and weekend outings that I sometimes dread, but always end up enjoying because of her. Our dynamic has always been her vibrant spark balancing my more grounded calm. A partnership I cherished more than anything, where she'd tease me about my organized spreadsheets, and I'd admire her ability to navigate high-stakes meetings with effortless grace. That evening, the kitchen air hung heavy with the aroma of roasted chicken and herbs, the overhead light casting a warm amber glow over the cluttered countertops strewn with homeware papers, half-eaten apples, and a vase of wilting daisies from last week's market run. Elena moved with her usual grace, chopping vegetables with rhythmic thuds of the knife against the cutting board, but there was a subtle tension in her shoulders as she checked her phone again, her fingers hovering a moment too long before locking the screen. A micro-frown flickering across her brow that she quickly masked with a smile directed at Lucas, who was doodling at the table. I watched her from the doorway, my mind whispering doubts. Maybe it's just work stress, the late hours catching up, the pressure of deadlines making her distant. But the way she avoided my gaze when I asked about her plans for the night stirred an unease I couldn't quite shake, like a crack in a foundation I hadn't inspected closely enough. The kids were in high spirits, Mia recounting her soccer game's highlights with animated gestures, her ponytail bouncing as she mimed a goal, while Lucas added sound effects with crayons scraping paper. The room felt alive with their energy, the scent of dinner mingling with the faint metallic tang of markers. The window fogged slightly from the stove's heat against the chilly evening outside. Elena laughed at Mia's story, but it was a beat too late, her hand absently touching her necklace, a simple silver chain I'd given her years ago, as if anchoring herself. "Busy day tomorrow?" I asked casually, leaning against the counter, the cool granite pressing into my palms. She nodded, her eyes flicking back to her phone on the island, the screen face down now, a habit she'd picked up recently. "Yeah, client stuff," she replied, her tone even but her body language telling, a slight shift of weight from one foot to the other, as if eager to move on. In my head, I replayed the day. Her rushed morning goodbye, lips brushing my cheek without the usual warmth, the extra time she spent on her makeup, applying lipstick with careful strokes in the bathroom mirror while steam from the shower lingered in the air. Was it vanity or something else? I pushed the thought away, focusing on the family before me. The way Lucas's small hand gripped his crayon, leaving colorful streaks that symbolized the innocence of our home. But doubts crept in like the draft from the window, cold and insistent. Elena had always been open, sharing work anecdotes over dinner, but lately her stories were vaguer, punctuated by silences where details used to flow. As the evening wound down, the kids bathed and tucked in, their rooms filled with the soft glow of night lights and the scent of lavender soap. Elena announced she had to step out for a quick errand. "Just picking up some files from the office," she said, slipping on her coat, the zipper's rasp echoing in the hallway. Her hair, usually tied back at home, was loose and styled, catching the light from the porch lamp as she stepped out. I stood at the door, watching her car back out, taillights reflecting on the wet pavement from an earlier rain. The house settled into quiet, the clock ticking in the living room, a sound that suddenly felt ominous. But as she drove away, why did her errand feel like a prelude to something unraveling? Alex's initial glimpse of the message triggers an attachment alarm, rooted in his deep emotional investment in the marriage, where Elena's role as the energizer has fostered a dependency that blinds him to early signs. His rationalizations stem from fear of vulnerability, a common defense against the pain of potential loss, while Elena's micro-expressions reveal internal conflict, perhaps guilt mixed with excitement, driven by unmet needs for affirmation outside the routine. Sensory details like the kitchen aromas ground his anxiety in the familiar, amplifying cognitive dissonance between perceived stability and intuitive threat. This setup explores how betrayal often begins with self-deception, where trust patterns delay recognition, setting Alex on a path of escalating denial and eventual empowerment through painful awareness. Our days had settled into a predictable flow, the kind that feels comforting until you notice the undercurrents pulling it apart, like a river that looks calm on the surface but hides swift currents below. Morning started with the sharp scent of brewing coffee mingling with the sweet tang of Mia's orange juice, the sunlight slanting through the blinds in golden stripes across the oak table where we'd gather for breakfast. Elena would bustle about, packing lunches with efficient motions, slicing apples with crisp snaps, wrapping sandwiches in foil that crinkled under her fingers. But lately, her replies to my casual questions came delayed, her eyes flicking to her phone mid-sentence, the device's vibration a subtle interruption she couldn't ignore. "Sorry, hon. Just a quick email," she'd say, her voice light but her posture slightly rigid, shoulders inching up as if bracing for something unseen, a defensiveness that wasn't there before. I'd watch her from across the table, the steam from my mug warming my face, the ceramic smooth and hot in my hands, wondering if I was imagining the emotional distance. Afternoons brought the chaos of kids' activities. Lucas's art class with its chalky smells and colorful smudges on his hands, leaving fingerprints on everything he touched, and Mia's soccer practice where the grass clippings stuck to her cleats and the air rang with shouts, whistles, and the thump of balls against goals. Elena started opting out more often, citing late meetings or sudden girls' nights with colleagues I barely knew, her excuses delivered with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes, her hand waving dismissively as she grabbed her keys from the hook by the door, the metal jingling like a false note. One evening, as rain pattered against the windows like hesitant fingers tapping for attention, she returned home later than usual, her coat damp and carrying the faint scent of unfamiliar cologne mixed with the city's wet asphalt. She hung it up with a soft rustle, then presented a new silk scarf draped around her neck, the fabric smooth and luxurious under my touch when I complimented it, its colors vibrant against her skin. "A gift from the team for closing a big deal," she explained casually, but her smile didn't crinkle her eyes the way it used to, and she quickly changed the subject to Mia's upcoming game, her fingers twisting the edge of the scarf absent-mindedly, a gesture that spoke of distraction or perhaps nervousness. I nodded, forcing a grin, but inside, self-doubt churned. Was it really from the team, or was I overthinking a simple token? Nights amplified the subtle shifts, turning our home into a stage for unspoken tensions. We'd sit on the couch after the kids were in bed, the leather cool and creaky beneath us, the room dimly lit by a lamp that cast long shadows across the rug, watching a show with the volume low to not wake anyone. Elena's laughter at the screen felt forced, a short burst rather than her usual hearty chuckle, her body angled slightly away from me, one leg tucked under her, creating an invisible barrier. When a message buzzed on her phone, resting on the armrest, she dimmed the screen brightness before checking it, a soft blue glow illuminating her face as a faint smile tugged at her lips. Gone in an instant when she noticed me glancing over, replaced by a neutral expression as she set it down face first. "Nothing important," she'd murmur, but the silence that followed felt charged, the air cooler despite the throw blanket over us. I told myself it was nothing, just the demands of her job ramping up, the stress of balancing work deadlines with family life making her more guarded. Overreacting would make me the paranoid one, the husband who didn't trust his wife after all these years. Yet, moments of normalcy, like her helping Lucas with a drawing at the kitchen table, their heads bent close under the pendant light, giggles filling the room as she guided his hand to add details to a dragon's wing, clashed with the growing distance, leaving me unsettled, like walking on a floor that creaked in new places. The house itself seemed to reflect it, the fridge humming a bit louder in the quiet evenings, the wind rattling the windows as if trying to warn me. Our neighbor, Mrs. Jenkins, dropped by one afternoon with cookies, their buttery scent wafting from the tin, and casually mentioned seeing Elena downtown during lunch hours, looking all dressed up. Elena laughed it off later as client schmoozing, but her laugh was too high-pitched, her hand brushing hair from her face in a fidgety motion. My brother called from out of town, his voice tinny over the speakerphone, asking about our plans, and I found myself hesitating, the cordless phone cool against my ear. The kids noticed too, Mia asking why Mom was always on her phone, her small brow furrowed as she kicked her soccer ball in the yard, the thuds echoing off the fence. The emotional contrast wore on me. Family dinners where we'd pass plates, the clink of forks against china, conversations flowing about school and work, but Elena's contribution shorter, her mind elsewhere. I'd reach for her hand under the table, feeling the warmth of her skin, but her squeeze back was perfunctory, lacking the linger it once had. Rationalization became my crutch. She's tired, the promotion hunt is intense. But fear of overreacting kept me silent, the internal monologue a loop of doubt and denial. Then, one night, as she typed furiously under the covers in our bedroom, the blue light casting eerie shadows on the walls, the sheets rustling softly with her movements, a name flashed briefly on the screen before she tilted it away. David. The room felt colder. The ceiling fans were amplifying the silence. Who was he? And why did the silence after feel so heavy, like a weight pressing on my chest, making each breath a conscious effort? Elena's error in providing vague explanations for items like the scarf and her phone habits reveals a pattern of minimal disclosure, teaching Alex that complacency in communication erodes foundations. His mistake, dismissing emotional distance as work stress, exposes a lesson in self-trust. Ignoring intuition prolongs deception. The children's innocent involvement heightens stakes, showing how parental secrets ripple outward. This phase imparts that denial is a temporary shield. Confronting small inconsistencies early can prevent larger fractures, fostering Alex's growth toward proactive emotional vigilance. The name David lingered like a shadow in the corners of my mind, prompting me to observe more keenly, though guilt gnawed at me for doubting her after so many years of what I thought was solid ground. I started noting her phone patterns, peaks in usage during late evenings when the house was quiet, the only sounds the distant hum of traffic from the highway and the occasional creak of settling floors. Passwords changed without mention, her fingers tapping quickly to unlock before angling the screen away from me. One morning, over the clatter of breakfast dishes in the sink and the toaster's sharp pop, I casually asked about her day ahead while pouring cereal, the milk glugging into bowls. Her reply was clipped, eyes darting away to the window where morning light filtered through, followed by a forced hug that felt performative, her arms loose around me, scent of her shampoo, floral and fresh, mixing with my growing unease. Moral quandaries surfaced like cracks in pavement I engineered to withstand stress. Snooping felt like a betrayal of the trust we'd built, yet ignoring the signs betrayed myself and our family. A dilemma that kept me up, staring at the ceiling's textured patterns in the dim glow of the alarm clock. A red herring appeared when I glimpsed a deleted chat history on her open laptop one afternoon. The screen's glare reflecting in the kitchen window. She explained it as spam cleanup from work promotions. Her tone reassuring, bringing a fleeting relief that washed over me like warm water, only for it to morph into deeper doubt when unexplained charges for upscale lunches and boutique items appeared on our joint bank statements. The numbers stark on my phone screen as I scrolled in the quiet of my home office, the desk lamp's bulb buzzing faintly. Anger flickered then, a hot spark in my chest, quickly doused by guilt for suspecting her without proof. Insomnia set in fully, the bedroom dim and silent save for the ticking clock on the nightstand and my shallow breaths. Thoughts obsessing over every anomaly, replaying conversations in my head like a looped recording. Subplots wove in unexpectedly. Mia's sudden moodiness at school, her teacher calling during lunch, voice concerned over the line as I paced the living room rug, noting signs of family stress in her withdrawn behavior, perhaps echoing the unspoken tensions at home that kids absorb like sponges. My brother, visiting from Milwaukee, innocently mentioned seeing Elena's car parked near a bistro district during his downtown errand. The detail dropped over coffee in our backyard, leaves rustling underfoot in the cool breeze, but when I asked her later, she claimed it was for quick shopping, her deflection smooth but her nail-biting, a habit she'd quit years ago, resurfacing. Hyper-awareness gripped me like a vice, turning everyday moments into scrutiny. Every secretive smile at an incoming message while we drove, the car's heater whirring, radio softly playing. Every sudden silence when I entered a room, her phone snapped shut with a click, the air thick with unspoken words. Emotional swings became my norm. Relief at a normal family outing to the park, where leaves crunched under our shoes and Lucas chased pigeons. Laughter genuine for a moment. Then doubt crashing back like waves on Lake Michigan's shore. Anger simmering during quiet dinners. Forks scraping plates. Guilt for not confronting sooner. Fearing I'd shatter the fragile peace. The pressure built layer by layer, overlapping with outside involvement. Our neighbor, chatting over the fence while mowing the lawn. The engine's roar pausing as he mentioned Elena looking glowing lately, a comment that twisted in my gut. A friend's wife at a barbecue. Smoke from the grill curling upward, whispering about seeing her with a colleague at lunch, but details vague enough to dismiss. Obsessive thinking dominated my commutes, the L train's rumble vibrating through me as I stared out at passing buildings, piecing together timelines that didn't add up. Longer work hours, new attention to appearance, like the way she now curled her hair, the iron's heat shimmering in the bathroom air. The brink came one overcast afternoon in my office, the fluorescent lights humming overhead, rain streaking the windows. Logging into our shared cloud drive for a family photo, I stumbled on a hidden notification folder on our linked account, a photo tag from David at a familiar upscale restaurant downtown, the image showing a cozy booth with wine glasses, timestamped during her girls' night. It was undeniable proof staring back at me, yet I hadn't confronted it. The screen's cold light reflecting my stunned face, heart pounding as the implications sank in, freezing me in place amid the stack of blueprints on my desk. Suspicion evolves in stages. Passive observation of patterns, internal moral wrestling, and active piecing of clues amid red herrings. The point of no return is the photo tag discovery, transforming abstract doubt into tangible evidence, rendering trust irreparable without confrontation. Alex's insomnia and emotional volatility reflect attachment trauma, while Elena's defensiveness hints at her motivations for escape. Secondary threads, like Mia's changes, amplify stakes, illustrating how betrayal contaminates family dynamics. The photo tag from David burned in my mind like a persistent ember, a casual shot of clinking wine glasses at Rivage Bistro with a caption hinting at intimacy, but the implications screamed volumes, pulling me into a vortex of investigation I never imagined I'd navigate. I delved deeper that evening, sitting in the dim study after the kids were asleep, the desk lamp casting a focused beam on my laptop screen, the keyboard soft clicks the only sound besides the distant rumble of a passing train. Moral hesitations crumbled under the weight of the need to know. I tracked her phone's app history discreetly via our family plan, finding repeated detours to the same downtown area, fictitious team meetings masking what now seemed like deliberate deceptions, the map dots plotting a pattern that twisted my stomach. Setbacks hit hard, like waves eroding my resolve. Innocent emails from actual work colleagues popped up in her inbox when I glanced over her shoulder one morning, the coffee maker gurgling in the background, temporarily soothing my paranoia with their mundane project updates, only for the calm to shatter when I found a crumpled receipt in her purse while looking for keys, the texture rough under my fingers. Ink listing dinner for two at Rivage, timestamped on a night she claimed over time. The house felt smaller then, the walls closing in as I stood in the hallway, coat rack creaking under the weight of jackets, my breath coming in shallow bursts. Psychological strain mounted relentlessly. Nights spent in dimly lit rooms. The fridge's low hum mocking my isolation in the kitchen as I paced, bare feet cold on the tile, obsessive replays of her smiles and silences fueling a headache that throbbed like a drum. A secondary twist emerged from the bank app on my phone, the screen's blue light harsh in the dark. Financial secrecy in small, unexplained transfers to an unknown account, perhaps funding these rendezvous or gifts like the scarf, complicating my perception. Was it just an affair, or was something more tangled, like a hidden alliance with this David? Overlapping secrets surfaced. My brother, over a video call, his face pixelated on the screen, recalled Elena mentioning a new project partner named David months ago, but she downplayed it. Our neighbor's offhand comment about seeing her car there tied in, protecting the truth unintentionally through casual gossip. Suspense built like a storm gathering over the lake, clouds darkening the sky during my drives home, wipers swishing rhythmically. I confided vaguely in a close friend over beers at a local pub, the glass cold and condensation slick in my hand. The bars murmur a cover for my whispers. He suggested caution, but his wife's earlier hint now felt like a breadcrumb. Red herrings persisted, a work event invite in her calendar that checked out, relief flooding me briefly as I verified it online, only to fade when I found deleted text recovered via a backup app, flirty but ambiguous, cinder-blocked but name cached as David. The climax of proof came one rainy Thursday evening, the kind where puddles reflect neon signs in downtown Chicago. Elena announced another late client dinner, her voice steady but eyes avoiding mine as she applied perfume in the bathroom, the bottle's spritz hanging in the humid air. I followed her after she left, guilt churning but curiosity overriding, the rain-slicked streets glistening under streetlights, my car's tires hissing on wet pavement as I parked discreetly a block from Rivage. Through the restaurant's fogged window, amid the warm interior glow of chandeliers and the faint clinking of cutlery carried on the breeze, I saw her at a corner table with him. David, mid-40s, polished suit, leaning in close, their hands linked across the linen cloth, laughter shared softly, culminating in a kiss that confirmed the nightmare. Her fingers in his hair, the scene intimate and devastating. Anger surged like a tidal wave, but I restrained it with a cold clarity born of months of buildup. My legs carried me forward, the door's bell tinkling like a death knell as I entered, the aroma of garlic and wine assaulting me, the room's chatter fading as I approached, heart pounding in my ears. Shock propels Alex into the restaurant, his restrained anger channeling into clarity, while Elena's likely denial stems from fear of loss. The kiss witnesses externalizes internal betrayal, shifting confusion to detachment. Financial twist adds moral complexity, influencing blame shifting. Sensory atmosphere intensifies tension, connecting jealousy to decisive confrontation. The bistro's ambience turns suffocating in an instant. Dim chandeliers flickering overhead like wavering accusations, the murmur of other diners a distant roar in my ears, the scent of seared steak and red wine cloying as I approached their table. Elena's eyes widened in pure horror, her fork clattering down against the porcelain plate with a sharp ring that cut through the haze. David froze mid-sentence, his napkin mid-wipe, confusion etching his features as he registered my presence. "Alex, what are you doing here?" she stammered, her voice breaking on my name, hands withdrawing quickly from his, knuckles white against the tablecloth. Short exchanges pierced the tension like shards. "Who's he?" I demanded, my tone low but edged, standing there with rain dripping from my coat onto the polished floor. "A colleague," she deflected, eyes darting to David for support. But he remained silent, shifting uncomfortably in his chair. Pauses stretched heavy with unspoken truths, her tears starting to well as denial crumbled. "You're imagining things, it's just dinner." The background hum of the kitchen appliances and soft jazz from speakers amplified the silence between her words. Partial confession emerged amid desperate gaslighting. "It's been months. You were always buried in work, never noticing me." Blame shifting to our marital routines, her voice trembling, fingers twisting her napkin into knots. An unexpected twist unraveled further. The affair's emotional attachment ran deeper than physical, the whispered talks of leaving me, intersecting with hidden alliances. Her sister had known for weeks, protecting the truth for family reasons, a revelation she blurted in sobs, reframing earlier family gatherings where her sister's odd glances now made sense. Body language screamed volumes. Elena's hunched shoulders, defensive crossed arms. David's averted gaze, chair scraping back slightly, as if ready to flee. In the cold silence after her admissions, the restaurant's warmth felt mocking. The stillness post-storm settling like a heavy fog as we left, the door swinging shut behind us with a soft thud. Immediate emotional aftermath engulfed our home. Distances manifested in avoided eye contact across the living room, cold interactions like passing ghosts in the hallway, the air thick with unspoken accusations. I slept on the couch that night, the fabric rough against my skin, staring at family photos on the mantel where smiles now seemed forced. Practical consequences loomed the next day. Discussions about separation over lukewarm coffee in the kitchen. The mug's heat failing to warm my hands, covering finances with spreadsheets on the table, living arrangements sketched on napkins, and the kids' custody a gut-wrenching topic that brought tears to her eyes. External reactions poured in. My brother calling, voice shocked over the phone, friends offering support via texts, the screen lighting up sporadically, a legal consultation in a sterile office downtown, the lawyer's pen scratching notes, air-conditioned chill matching my detachment. Elena's behavior shifted erratically. Regret in tearful apologies whispered in the hallway. Fear in her wide eyes during talks. Attempts to repair with cooked meals whose aromas filled the house but tasted ashes in my mouth. Then emotional detachment when I didn't respond. My psychological evolution accelerated. Initial grief, a raw ache in quiet moments alone, transformed into clarity through long walks along the windy lakefront. Waves crashing as insights dawned. I wasn't blameless. My workaholism had created voids. Establishment of boundaries became paramount. Emotional separation through minimal conversations. Physical by moving her things to the guest room, the boxes thudding softly on the floor. The first symbolic act of independence came that week. Sleeping separately permanently, the guest bed sheets crisp and unfamiliar. Removing my wedding ring in the bathroom mirror, the metal clinking into the sink like a final punctuation. Scheduling a therapy consultation, the calendar app's beep confirming the step. Empowerment emerged through calm resolve rather than rage. Self-respect restored in refusing her pleas, portraying internal rebuilding as I journaled late nights, the pen scratch therapeutic. The decision crystallized clear. Filing for divorce. Papers signed in the lawyer's office amid the scent of fresh ink and leather chairs, marking emotional closure's beginning, a door shutting on the past with a sense of inevitable finality. Had Alex confronted earlier upon the photo tag, perhaps partial truths could have surfaced, allowing counseling before the public humiliation deepened wounds. Instead, witnessing the kiss solidified detachment, foreclosing reconciliation. Elena's blame shifting might have softened with private discussion, But the chosen path exposed overlapping secrets, accelerating empowerment. This highlights missed paths where communication averts escalation, yet underscores that timing shapes outcomes, fostering Alex's growth through enforced boundaries. Months after the divorce finalized, independence had woven itself into the fabric of my daily life. A quiet revolution that started with small, deliberate changes and blossomed into a profound sense of self. Mornings now began with solo runs along the Chicago lakefront, the dawn light painting the water in soft pinks and golds, the wind sharp and invigorating against my skin, carrying the fresh, briny scent of the lake as my footsteps pounded the path, each stride symbolizing distance from the past. I'd return home energized, brewing coffee in the kitchen, the machine's gurgle and rich aroma filling the space. Steam curling upward as I sipped from a mug, gazing out at the backyard where dew glistened on the grass, a moment of contemplation where relief mingled with lingering sadness, but mostly peace. New routines anchored me. Weekends exploring hobbies long neglected, like joining a photography club where the camera's shutter click captured cityscapes under varying lights, the weight of the lens strap comforting around my neck, or woodworking in the garage, sawdust fine and woody scented, tools humming as I shaped shell for Lucas's art supplies. Social life flourished organically. Dinners with old friends at cozy bistros, ironically, avoiding Rivage. Laughter echoing over clinking glasses and shared plates. Conversations flowing freely without the undercurrent of marital tension. Even tentative dating, a coffee meetup where the cafe's espresso machine hissed, nerves giving way to genuine connection. Interactions with the kids remained the heart. Co-parenting smoothly, Mia's soccer games under bright stadium lights, cheers rising as she scored, Lucas's art shows where his paintings hung proudly, his small hand in mine as we admired them. Their resilience a mirror to my own growth, micro-emotions of joy and pride outweighing any residual pain. Elena and I maintained minimal contact, her texts showing distance with occasional remorse. Thinking of the good times, but I responded politely, boundaries firm like the lock gate I installed in the yard, symbolizing closure. Therapy continued in a warmly lit office, the counselor's voice steady, helping process the betrayal, unpacking lessons like layers of an onion, understanding her motivations, seeking excitement amid routine stagnation, and my own patterns of avoidance that contributed, turning empowerment into inner growth, a freedom tasted in solo evenings reading by the fire, logs crackling softly. Situations like this happen more often than you think. Recent surveys from the General Social Survey show about 15 to 20% of married individuals admit to infidelity, with men at around 20% and women at 13%, though underreporting suggests higher real numbers, contextualizing my experience as not isolated but a broader human vulnerability. I was one of them, but it imparted deep insights, the necessity of vigilance in relationships, the high cost of denial that allows small cracks to widen, and the transformative power of rebuilding from ruins, where hope emerges not from forgetting, but from learning. For the first time, life felt expansive and truly mine. My morning coffee steaming in the quiet kitchen as birds chirped outside, a subtle teaser that this closure was just the beginning of uncharted paths, ready for whatever came next. The arc traces Alex's descent from denial to empowerment, with betrayal as catalyst. Cumulative lessons. Trust fragility demands active nurturing. Denial prolongs pain, but revelation fosters growth. Elena's motivations, seeking validation, intersect with Alex's overlooked resentments, adding ambiguity. Emotional closure comes via independence, highlighting resilience. Universal insight. Infidelity statistics underscore commonality, but personal narratives reveal individual paths to healing.